Hey, Dwight Clow here, Inner Wealth. This is the second of 10 videos on the 10 Commandments, and we're just kind of working our way through Exodus chapter 20, and in these videos we're just figuring out what we can learn about God from the 10 Commandments. And I'm going to pick up with verse 3 here. I'm reading from the NIV. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. Now, that's kind of a mouthful, and there are two ways to understand what I just read. The first is that God is just kind of a tyrant, that he's kind of a maniac, that he wants to be first. He's kind of like the person on the interstate who has to just get in front of you. They might slow way down when they get in front of you, but they got to get out in front, and then God wants to be first, and that he's petty and vindictive and jealous, and that not only does he punish people for their infractions, but he punishes their children too, you know? I mean, if you look at this that way, you can come up with a really, really poor view of God. But, you know, as I've been walking with God now for, oh boy, 50 years, and I've experienced him and read the Bible, I've discovered that the God of the Bible, the God of the Ten Commandments, is a very, very different person than what I just described. And so let me show you what I think is the correct way to understand this. And the correct way to understand this is we all tend to create gods, false gods. We create them out of our imagination. We create them out of our desire to feel okay inside. An example of a false god might be alcohol. You know, we don't feel good, and we turn to the god of alcohol and just want that god to make it all go away and make our life okay. Or a god might be, another way of looking at this is a drug of choice. One of my drugs of choice is praise, you know. I just crave these words of affirmation from other people. A certain amount of that is fine and it's okay, but sometimes I go a little overboard and then it becomes a god. It takes the place of God in my life. And the problem with these other gods, whether it's alcohol or whether it's praise or whether it's porn or, you know, whatever, all of these other gods that we create, it might be our own arrogance, our own intellectual achievement or whatever. The problem with these other gods that we create is they don't have the ability to take God's place in our lives. They can't do what God can do. When life suddenly becomes bigger than we are and our problems are far more massive than we are able to deal with, our puny gods cannot solve our problems for us. They cannot cope with the challenges that life presents. And it's then we look around and realize, wait a second, I'm chained to this God that I created, this idol that I constructed, and it's not helping me. And then we need the real God to break those chains, set us free from those false gods, so that we can worship the real God who really does have the power to help us when our lives fall apart. And so what about this visiting the children and punishing them for the sins of the fathers? Well, again, I think a misunderstanding. What God is trying to say is this, that nobody makes decisions in a vacuum. That if we decide to mess up our lives, we're not the only one that suffers. Everybody around us suffers, and particularly our children and their children suffer. Because if we're messed up, we pass that on to the next generation. And God doesn't want that to happen. God cares very much about the next generation, and He wants them to be free of all of that. So anyway, kind of a long video, but I just wanted to assure you that the main reason that God doesn't want us constructing other gods and putting them in His place is they don't help us. They hurt us. And they not only hurt us, but they hurt people around us. And God wants to be there and be what only He can be in our lives. So, hope these thoughts are helpful. And just so you know, coming up on Inner Wealth, we are going to be discussing Transformation Prayer Ministry, what it is, where it comes from, is it biblical, and how it can help you. So that'll be coming up for subscribers of Inner Wealth. Check my website for more details. Thanks a bunch. Have a super day.